Joining me now from Washington, D.C. attorney and candidate for governor of Delaware, Julianne Murray. Julianne, thank you so much for being on the program.
It's Julianne Murray, and thank you very much for having me.
My apology there. Julie, talk to me about these police memorials that were vandalized, and what has the response been like from Delaware's leaders?
Well, there are two different memorials in Delaware. There's a Delaware State Police Memorial, and then there was one that's all law enforcement. Both have been vandalized, and it's incredibly sad because it's so disrespectful to the men and women that died in the line of duty. They paid the ultimate sacrifice, and the monument to them has been disrespected. And frankly, there's been no mention from Delaware leadership. The Governor John Carney has said nothing about the disrespect, the desecration of these memorials, and has actually said nothing in support of law enforcement at all. And it just saddens me, and it's something that I feel very, very strongly about.
Yeah, it's definitely sad when we hear silence from state leaders on this matter. Will the person or people, do you think, that vandalized these statues, do you think they're going to face any repercussions?
I hope so. I mean, they did catch one person, and it will work its way through the justice system. The other vandals, I don't believe they've caught yet. But the bigger issue here is that I do not think that Delawareans are in support of this vandalism. I think that they are looking for leadership. I think they are looking for, somebody to speak out against the vandals and to send a pro-law enforcement and a pro-law and order message, and they are not getting it from the current governor. They're getting it from me, but they're not getting it from the current governor.
Yeah, and I want to point out to our viewers that you were the first person to sue Democrat Governor John Carney for his draconian COVID shutdown orders. Julianne, what grounds are you suing him on exactly?
I sued in federal court, and it's a constitutional claim. It's called from the Takings Clause. It's the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. Most people know Fifth Amendment is self-incrimination, but there's also a Takings Clause, which says the government can't take your property without just compensation. This lawsuit was not about compensation. It was about the Fifth Amendment taking and about the 14th Amendment of the Due Process Clause, that no state shall make a law that shall deprive you of life, liberty, or property. There's a rental. My husband and I have a rental property, and we were, as Delaware residents, denied the ability to rent. And this lawsuit was actually filed for lots of Delawareans who own hotels, Airbnbs, rental properties. All of those different types of rentals were all banned in a blanket ban for almost over 2 months.
Fascinating. I do want to quickly get back to a point back on the monuments, because you are running for governor of Delaware. What would your response be when you see these takedowns and vandalisms of memorials and statues? I mean, what could the American people expect from you if that was you in his shoes?
That's a very good question, and basically it's kind of twofold. I think that the right to protest is absolutely constitutionally guaranteed, but this has moved to looting and rioting, which is not protected speech. So I think that you have to have a very strong approach to that, and in Delaware we've not seen the riots quite the way that we've seen in other places. There's been a couple of demonstrations that turned a little more violent, but I would have staged law enforcement. I would have had law enforcement ready to go. You know where these demonstrations are going to happen, and when the first law was broken, law enforcement would have stepped in. Arrests would have been made, and you send a signal to the people that are doing this, because if you don't do that, then it's a tacit approval to their behavior if you don't step in and enforce the law. Law and order has to prevail. Absolutely has to.
And in many places, and I've been noticing this across the country, mayors and governors, they'll tell their police to actually, they'll tell them to stand down and allow this type of rioting and looting to continue on. Why do you think that they're so in the defense of that, and why do you think that they're telling police to stand down and not, combat this and what they're seeing happening?
I think it's twofold. I think that sometimes it's a political issue. They believe that if they take a stand and they say, and they take a stand against the protesting, that politically they're going to suffer for that. But that bothers me. I mean, that's spineless as far as I'm concerned. I think that you are allowed to defend the right to protest, but from my perspective, a leader, the person who is either the chief law enforcement officer or chief executive of the state, absolutely has to send the message that you're allowed to peacefully demonstrate, but as soon as you move into an angry mob, we're going to step in and we are going to stop you from doing that. And so I know that there are leaders that are saying, hey, it's okay, let it ride, and I think that that is absolutely the worst thing that you can possibly do, because it's just emboldening it and it is spreading.
Sounds like the leadership is strongly needed, with your lead, of course, hopefully. That's all the time we have right now.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you so much, Julie. We appreciate your time.